Okay, so hello everyone, and I'm recording for workshop 9, and I am in my agenda. I have, as I told you, the talking about the test 2, test 4, which we will take it next week. I will give you some. I have uploaded some recording about it, and please listen to that recording. I will also listen to any questions if you have. For the final exam, we will have detailed, very detailed, well, revision class. I will go over it after the test next week. So, and then the test, I will give you the feedback, and if you have any questions, you come back to me. So let me now, one more point, as I told you, if you want to copy, if you want to do your workings, if you really need to do your workings, you can copy the formulas from here. But if you want to do workings and you feel comfortable of, doing the working and copy and paste and bring it to the main uh, document, which is document B, then there is no problem about that. I have no problem with that, as long as please make the handwriting clear and everything is clear. Sir, will you record this workshop? I am recording this workshop. Is it recorded or no? Yeah, I think it's recorded.
Yes, it's recorded.
Yeah, yeah, I'm recording this workshop. Now let me go over this. If you haven't listened to the recording, fine. If you haven't listened, just very fast over it. Okay, this is the comments uh, for test 4. So this is, as I told you, the breakdown as usually. I will have for week 9, 8 questions, 7 questions for OBS and derivatives, and 10 MSQ question for week 11. Now, they are mixed between theory and calculations. I suggest you start with the tutorials. Then you do the workshops. I will upload for you all tests, test 1 and test 2, but the areas that is not covered, because test 1 and test 2 last, semester 1 and semester 2 last year was week 10 and 11. Now here we have week 9, 10, and 11. So I will upload everything for you, but please remember that market risk is not included in the test that I will upload for you. And it is optional to look at it anyways. Now, as I said in the recording, maybe you don't need but I divided this into 2 parts. And I said, please, we have the DIR and the aggregate DIR. The calculation is here. Now, and then the calculation is here. And then we have the one of the issues we discussed before, which is the historic back simulation. Now, in the historic back simulation, there is a calculation of the delta. Don't worry about it. I will not ask you because there is some calculations there. Don't worry about this. If there is a question about the historic back, why is it there? In other words, why is it there? What is the problem with the DIR? And why we jump to the back simulation? We understand it's because of the problem of the normality assumptions, because of the correlation, and because the correlation and the normality usually, okay? Because the correlation is a headache. And then the Monte Carlo, the Monte Carlo is just actually historic back simulation. We just increased the number of observations from 500 to 10,000 or 20,000 in order to overcome the weaknesses of the back simulation, which is the number of observations is not enough. Okay, So this is what you need to do. What about these ones? For next test, nothing about this. This is the one which I think most of you a little bit, you know, not really worried, because look, when we talked about it, we talked about first thing you have to understand that we have OPS and we have derivatives. One is market related and one not market related. And this is why we did it. So when we come today to the, when we come today and start to discuss and the what we call the capital adequacy, we need this concept of market related and non-market related when we calculate the credit risk. This is why it was important that we bring it in week 10. So for the OPS, as I told you, this one you don't have to worry about. The services, it is part of it. Most of our work was here. Most of our work was here. In these two parts. Now, to do those ones, we have discussed the structure of the OPS, like the guarantees, documentary letter of credit, the bills, commercial bills, and all those of issues. So these ones, I cannot tell you, for example, that this is OPS and this is a bill, endorsement bill. And they give you a problem about the savings when you endorse it from the bank, and when there is discount from the what you call the when the discounter provide some discount if you endorse the bill. If you don't know what is the bill and how does it work and what is the structure of the bill, you wouldn't know anything. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't actually absorb the issue. Also, this issue applies to the letter of credit, the standby letter of credit, the guarantees. This is a very, very important financial product. And if you are in banking, you will have to know it one day, but it's not related to the risk. The structure, I don't care about all I care is if this liability will be materialized and crystallized or not, that's all. And therefore, all of those issues, which I have them, I hope I have it here. All of those issues which I discussed in the video, the recording of yesterday, the structure of the endorsement bill, the structure of the letter of credit, the structure of the documentary letter of credit, all of those drawings, don't worry about them, forget them. Which means all of those issues, you are not going to be asked about it. You will be asked about, please listen to the video and I explain it in details there, okay? So that one's, all of those issues actually, you are not responsible about it for the next test, and it is, and this is why we give only 7 marks for week 10, okay? Now, when we talk about the loan commitment, actually, we talked about the loan commitment. We talked about it in the, workshop, and we talked about it in the tutorial. And we look at the loan commitment from the, how does it work? And when we calculate the, what we call when there is a drawdown, there is no drawdown. And when we talked about the back end fee and upfront fee. And when we are going to apply all those fees and when we calculate the fees for the bank. That's all the calculation and the commitment. In the endorsement of the bill, we have only one calculation, which means if I'm going to issue a bill, if there is a borrower and lender of the market, and we call the borrower the withdrawal, and we call the lender the discounter. Now, these people, when they meet in the market, the discounter will discount the bill. With that, the borrower, who is the drawer, who draw that bill, will issue the bill for 100,000. For example, this will not give you 100,000, the discounter, they will give you 95,000. Now that one, this 5% is actually the return for the lender, who is, we call him in the bill, is the discounter. Now, he can give you that discount and not asking you to go and endorse the bill. But if you go and endorse the bill, his credit risk will be less, and he may ask you, and he may offer you discount on that return. So instead of taking 5%, maybe he takes 4%. If you go to the bank and the bank will issue the bill, will endorse the bill for 50 basis points, then it's good for you, because that will give you a saving of 50 basis points, which means end of the day, you will pay 4% for the discounter and 50 basis points for the bank. But without discounts, you are paying 95, 5% full. So you have saving. This is the only thing we have done about it in the OBS in terms of calculation. Now, when we come to the derivatives, we talked about FRA. FRA, please understand it, because we talked about the speculation, hedging, and the trading. Now, in the hedging, it is like speculation in terms of calculation. There is no difference. However, there is a physical, and I explain it in the video, there is a physical, what we call exposure. So the physical exposure, the FRA market will offset that. And we talked about trading. Trading, when the bank is selling and buying, and if he is smart and being in that exposure and have balance of this exposure, he will be okay. That's all about it. Now, for the futures, options, and the swaps, we just talked about it theoretically. And if there is any multiple choice question, whatever, it will be just very theoretical. For example, in the swaps, I will tell, and then the options, if there is a question, I will tell you what is the difference between the what we call the floor and the floor. Yeah, we have floor options, which is we have the floor, and we have the floor. Yeah. We have, when we issue, we have the floor. I mean, which means the investor will take a floor option. I mean, they will exercise when there is, when the rate goes under the floor option. And the other one, anybody remind me, the top, right? Anybody have the slides? Which is the ceiling, I think. This is coming from the, you are a borrower. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Borrower is concerned that cap options. So this is, for example, the question would become like this, differentiate between, um, uh, we have only the options, you have the futures and the swaps. And the swap, I think there is some drawings. Uh, yeah, so there is no calculations. Specifically, we have only calculation in the futures, um, which let's talk about the options and the swaps, so you don't get confused with the. So if there is anything, it will be some theory about the options and the swaps. That's all. And this one you have to do some calculation. Okay, let me come here to the capital adequacy. Now the capital adequacy, as I told you, internal model, please take it off. And then when we talk about this, uh, when we talk about we will talk about it in the case today, but please understand that if I'm going to give you the whole case, then in this case, I will not ask you about in the calculation, in the standardized approach. In the standardized approach, this one you have to calculate according to the table, and I will show you how we do it today. I will uh, calculate according to the tables. Now, the rest of those is actually, I will give you what we call capital charge. Now, the capital charge is the capital charge, as I will show you in the case, you just multiply capital charge, multiply by 9.52, and that's it. Now, there is some other issues here. For example, when we talk about, there will be some theory because this is 10 questions, huh? Will be some theory, for example, about the difference between market value and book value. Uh, and most of there is another calculations, if there is any other issues, because this is part three in your, and the recordings and in the slides. Most of the test will be from part three, okay, which is around 31 slides. So if there is any other questions, it will be like just theoretical questions based on this. And you have to understand, please, that Basel is a framework from three issues, which is the capital adequacy, which is Baylor 1, Baylor 2 is the governance, and Baylor 3 is the, so it's a package. But mainly all the questions will be from this, from part 3. Okay, any question in this stage? Can I move?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So if there is no question about this, I will just move now to the workshop. So see, look, I will now just turn off my camera because I want to write. I will give you some advices in how to deal with these problems of capital adequacy. First of all, um, understand the tables. See what I have then. So this is the tables, as I explained in my tutorials. Now these tables are scattered inside the table are scattered inside the in the textbook, and I already collect them and numbered them. And this numbering also you can use. You are not going to record, to give me tables in the exam, but this is 5 tables, which is actually about the credit risk. Now, when I do it, we usually use extensively, we use table 5, which is the rating, which is, the risk, this one, which is actually the risk weights. Okay. Now, the risk weights is actually in table 5, and we are using standards and poors. This one. So what is the best way to do it? Open 2 files for this one, for the tables, because you will keep moving in the other tables. But you will, in every time you use the other table, you have to use table 5. Open one and let it up, all the time there, because since you are working online, and just continue, use any of those tables and come here. If there is a conversion, there is always conversions in those tables, and you have to go to table 5. This is what I do. This is one thing. The other thing is, uh, calculate the car. When you calculate, take a process. When you do the process, do it like this. So the process of calculating capital adequacy is the following. And if you go systematic on it, it's few steps. Now, step 1, you have to calculate the risk-weighted assets. Risk-weighted for asset for what? For credit risk, for market risk, for operational risk, for interest rate risk, banking book, for the banking book, and securitization risk. Now, for me, you will use the tables, the 5 tables. This one, which is table 4, from table 1 to table 5, is actually coming from, is only for the credit risk. And I will tell you how to use it. Now, for the market risk, either in next test or in the final, if this problem come or whatever, it's very difficult to calculate it. I mean, you need data and all these things. I will give you something called capital capital charge. This also capital charge. This also capital charge. No, operational risk, there will be a formula. I may give you for next week. If operational risk comes, I will just give you because next week it will be it's only multiple choice question. It's not a problem like the final. Internal risk, this is capital charge. and this is capital charge. Okay. Now, after you calculate, this is step one. Step two, obtain the capital from your balance sheet. Now, according to this problem of today, for example, according to the case of today, which we will go over it, the capital is here. The capital is here. I already giving you the capital, which is this item, this item, this item, and this item. So it's already there. All you have to do is just to obtain it from here and divide it over the capital charge, risk-weighted. So you'll take it from the balance sheet, and I will show, as I shown you today. Then number three, you just calculate the risk-weighted assets. I mean the car. Because now you have the capital here, and you have the risk-weighted assets is here. This is coming from here, and this is coming from here. So you have the capital, you can now calculate the car, because you have already one is the risk-weighted assets and two is the capital. Now calculate the car. When you calculate the car, you will have two options. A, you satisfy basic requirements. Which means common equity tier one is more equal or more than 7%, and then you have tier one more than 8.5% equal or more, and then you have the total capital, which is over 10.5%. If you get this information, it's finished. B, you are not satisfying, which means those is less. What do you do now here? Increase common equity tier one. And that's it. And C, calculate again. You can build the balance sheet, new balance sheet. New balance sheet is old balance sheet, but just you will change the cash and the current asset, the cash and the common equity. And this is if I ask you to calculate the new balance sheet. Otherwise, you don't have to calculate it, okay? Okay, now let me just tell you how to use the tables. Calculate these tables. You have 5 tables. See the credit risk. You have the following tables. Credit risk is on balance sheet and off balance sheet. This on balance sheet is either business loans or housing loans. If it is business loan, table 5, which is this one. straightforward. If it is housing loans, table 1, which is this one. Okay. Now we are done with the on-balance sheet. Let's look for the off-balance sheet. Off-balance sheet, we have what we call market-related, which is the OPS. This is table 3 and table 4. Or market, excuse me, this is non-market related or market related, which is actually the derivatives. This is table 2. Let me show you. This is the derivative table. It's here. And this is table 3, which is table 2. Table 3 and 4, as you can see them, all the items of the on-balance sheet. This is how you approach this problem. And we will go now together and work it. We try to work it very fast according to this. This is all just if you make this if you follow this, I think for me, I think this is the best way to do it. If there is a big problem in the exam, so you go systematically and you finish it very fast. Now let me just go to this to the case now, and let's start the problem. Okay, these problems in millions. So I can this at the asset side, and this is the liability side, which is the whole balance sheet. And total assets, of course, equals total, it tallies. It equals total liabilities. So you don't have to withdraw the balance sheet, but if you want to put the balance sheet, fine. You want to start, make the calculations, fine too. So what I did in my approach, just for the sake of I put the assets here and I put the liabilities here. This is what I have. I have 200 of assets and 200 of liabilities. Now, all I need to go now, as I told you, calculate the risk-weighted assets according to the steps. There are 5 steps. Calculate risk-weighted assets. Most of the headache, if there is headache, it's the credit risk. Now, the credit risk, I will go to the assets side. I will go to the asset side, which means we lend others, and there is a risk that they will not pay us. So all those financial assets here, I have to calculate the risk-weighted assets according to table 5, and table 1. So as you can see, I'm not taking fixed assets. I'm taking all of those. I'm taking the cash, and I will start with the now cash is on balance sheet. And I can go to table 5, as I told you. So the cash is here, which is 0. Government securities and all these things is 0, as we discussed the tutorial. So now this will be 0. This is my calculation for the on-balance sheet. Then I have the interbank deposits, which is AAA. AAA go to table 5, and table 5 is telling me it's 20%. So I bought the 20%. It's 20 times the 20%. Then I go to the mortgage. Mortgage now, as I explained, here, mortgage is on balance sheet, but it is here, table 1. And the mortgage, they will tell you something about the LVR, which is the loan to the value, and then the value of the assets, and then they will give you whether it is standardized or not standardized, insured or not insured. As we say here, it's a standardized residential mortgage, non-insured with LVR 75. If I go to table 1, I'll find that here. So 75 come here. The 75 is here, and it is non-insured, no insurance, 35%. So now I multiply it by 35%. 35% times 75 million. And then the business loans, they are very straightforward. Business loans, I will go to table 5, as I explained to you. Table 5, what is the rate of the, what is the business loan, what is the rating of the business loan? It's double B. So with this double B, it looks like 100%. Go on by 100%. Any other assets? And this is the risk-weighted assets. 0 for 2475.
Sir, sorry for interrupting. I think there's some typo.
Where?
In the mortgage loan. 0.35 times 75 is not 24.5.
Really? Thank you very much. Times 75. 26, 20. Okay. Can you multiply it by, because I don't want to change the whole thing. Can you calculate it by 70? Okay, guys, in order not to distort the whole calculation, I will change this one to 70. So this, I'll also change I will change this to, I will upload for you in the new, so I will change this to 125 and make this 195 and change this to 70 and make this 195. I just change the balance sheet. Okay. Person who asked, okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So in order not to distort the calculation here, so I will make this 70. Assume it's given as 70. So it will be 103. Now we finished the. I will update for you the 75 on the balance sheet. It's easier for me than changing all the numbers here. 103. Then I will go next now to the off balance sheet. As I told you, when I calculate, I moved now. I'm done with this area. I want to move here. I will start with with the off balance sheet. Now the off balance sheet will come as, according to this case, you can see. This is the on-balance sheet. And I added also the counterparty is triple B. So I will start with 50 million in performance related. I know this is OBS and market related, non-market related. I know this is 50 million 2 years forward. This is derivative contract. And I will introduce you to something called in the monies. In the monies, which is in the money and out of the money. And what do we mean by it? And then we will have 300 million another derivative contract. So if I go to my problem now, I will start with this 50 million. This is the standby letter of credit. It's 50 million. I know I brought it from the problem. The issue with the on-balance sheet, I have to go through 2 steps. One step, I have to have a conversion, use the conversion table. And the conversion table is table 3 and 4 actually, for the off-balance, for the non-market related, which is the standby letter of credit commitments. For the market related, I have to go to table 2 for the conversion. Now, as you can see, this is off-balance sheet, OPS, which is non-market related, standby letter of credit. So I have bring to 50 million, and I have to go to table 3. This is according to the problem. The problem is saying 50 million in performance related. It's a letter of credit, but performance related. So I go to the performance related. This is the performance related, and it is 50%. So I have to multiply now by 50% first. So I multiply by 50%. So I get now what we call CEA. CEA is conversion equivalent asset. Equivalent asset. So now it's 25 million. Most important is to calculate this area. Later on, that one, usually I will give you one ranking for all counterparties. Now, come here, the foreign exchange contracts. It is 50 million. And now I need to see what kind of contracts. It's a contract 50 million, which is 2-year forward contract, 2-year Forex contract. If you go to table 2, please understand that which is the derivative contracts. We have few contracts. This is for the interest rate. Any interest rate contracts here. Any foreign exchange contracts here. Any equity contracts is here. And we can go now to gold, whatever. I usually use those 3, but mainly I will use this one and this one, the foreign exchange and the interest rate. Now, in the interest rate contracts, it's 2 years, and it is interest rate contract, foreign exchange contract. Sorry. This is in percentage, okay? This is in percentage, my friends. So I'm taking it here. So I go here. As you can see, I multiply it by 5%. Now, let me tell you what is this in the money. When we have contracts, usually we will have in the money and out of the money. In the money means you have to, in the money, you have to, in the money, that means you are earning in this contract. You're already gaining in this contract, but the contract is not matured yet. You have not, it's not matured. Still, there is some time in the contract. For example, it's for 6 months and you do it in December and September. This is the end of the year, which is December, but the contract actually matures and ends in March, which is 6 months. Now, in this case, regulators say if you are gaining in this contract, you have to get the current exposure. The current exposure from the credit risk, there is a possibility that the counterparty will not pay. So if it is in the money, if we are gaining in the contract and we have credit risk exposure to the second party, when we are analyzing and updating the capital, the regulators say you have to take it 100%. But the contract is not mature, regulators say no, just take it as you are going to liquidate today. So this is why I take 6 million. Now we have also potential exposure. We have, this is the potential exposure, this is the current exposure. Now we go to the next contract, which is the swaps. Now the swaps is, the swap is 300 million, 6-year interest rate swaps, which means 6-year interest rate swaps, which is table 2. Five years and more. And it is, as I told you, interest rate swaps. So you have to multiply by 1.5%, 1 basis point, 1 basis point, because this is percentage. So you go now and you calculate. So it's 4.5. And then out of the money means the other party is gaining. It's not us who are gaining. The other party is gaining. So because the other party is gaining, we don't have exposure in credit risk. He has the exposure to us. This is why we counted 0. If we are losing in this contract, we will see it in the market risk, but it's not here. Here is only the credit risk. If somebody else owes us and there is a possibility or a risk that he will not pay us, like this guy. But this guy, we owe them, we are losing in this contract, so we make it 0. Now, if we are done, this is maybe the most important part of it in the problem, the whole problem, especially if you have so many things. Now, now you have to bring it now to the risk-weighted assets. So you have to get the risk weight. The risk weight, all the counterparty of those contracts, all those contracts are B, treble B. Rating, and you can see here, I already mentioned to you all the counterparty are B rated. So I calculate, multiply by 100% and get this. I add it up. It's 38 now for the on-balance sheet, off-balance sheet, and for the on-balance sheet 1 or 3, which is already calculated here. So I have 141. Now, actually, I am done. Is there any other risks? There is the operational risk. According to the problem, they give me the operational risk. Operational risk, I calculate it according to the formula. This last time when this problem comes, it represents around 17 or 18 marks of the problem of the total exam, which means 18 marks of the total marks of the unit. I remember. So in this case, we will go here. I can show you the formula is here. You can look at it. It is here. And it's very standardized formula. There is nothing to do about it because this number, and this number is given. It's fixed. This and this is fixed, which is you have only to change this one, and you have only to change this one and this one. For 12%, 15%, 18% is the same. So now, having said that, if we go to the problem, if you look at this, so this is what we call the retail banking. So I multiply it, which is the same thing. I bring all those numbers and put them here. And these numbers and put them here for the retail banking, for the commercial banking. And for other businesses, I put them there. I apply this, I calculate the, what we call the capital charge for the retail, capital charge for the commercial, capital charge for others. I add them up. When I add them up, they are here. I multiply them by 9.52. When we have capital charge, we have to multiply by 9.52. So it's 7.52. So now this is the risk-weighted assets for operational risk. As you can see here, this is the risk-weighted assets for credit risk. I want to see the other risks. I will give it to you like this. I will give you the risk, the capital charge, and then all you have to do is to multiply by 9.52 is very fast. So I get the risk-weighted assets now for interest, risk-weighted asset for market, which is this one, risk-weighted asset for securitization, which is this one. Now I'm done. All I have to do now is to calculate the total risk-weighted assets, which is, if you look here, I am in this step. I already finished all those steps, which is the most difficult ones. I have the risk-weighted assets. I need now to calculate, to get the capital and start to calculate the CAR and see whether I am satisfying or no. So what I do now is I go and this is the risk-weighted assets. So I go now and calculate, where did I get this amount? Where did I get this amount? And where did I get this amount? From the balance sheet. As I told you, obtain it from the balance sheet and divide it by the risk-weighted assets. And this is actually the CAR for common equity, CAR for Tier 1, CAR for total capital. If you look at the problem, you will see now that I have I have 10 common equity. I have non-cumulative. Now somebody would say, sir, how come how should I know the, the capital, whether it is tier one or not tier two? I have only three items: subordinated debt, common equity tier one, common equity, I will give you in the balance sheet. I will give you something called preference shares, and this will be cumulative. This is tier two, or non-cumulative. This is tier one. Common equity, of course, part of tier one. And then we have subordinated debt. This is tier two. This is the three items I will give you. There is a table I will show you on the, you may notice it in the lecture slides, but I'm not going to use this. I will only give you this one. So now I calculate the common equity tier one, and I found it less than 7%. I calculated the tier one, I found it to be 7.7. I calculated the other one, the total capital, and I found it. So actually, I'm not satisfying. So now what I do is, please follow this logic. The logic is, this is the capital. This is the common equity tier one. And this is rest of tier one, the rest of tier one. And this, as you can see, this is tier one. And this is tier two. So this is tier one. This is tier two. And all of this is total capital. Tier one and tier two. So if I increase this one, everything above it will increase. Because common equity is actually part of the total capital. And common equity is part of tier one. So what I do is I go to common equity and see how much I need common equity actually. So I need, this is my risk-weighted asset, 2.6.14. Multiply it by 7%. And I found this to be 1430. So now I can do the calculation again. So this is already 1430 common equity. Tier one is becoming now 1430 plus the original one, which is 6, which is 2030. And the total capital is actually, was last time 16. I increased now, was 20. Was 20 from the balance sheet. I increased now by 1430. So the increase now is minus 10. The increase is 4.30. Remember. So that 4.30 will increase over all of them. So we have common equity, or last time was 10. We have tier one, last time was 6. Was 16. And we have total capital was 20. So this increased by 4.30, 4.30, 4.30. So this is 24.30. This is 20.30, and this is 14.30. Now I divided all of them. I found them to satisfy. And I'm done with the problem. If I ask you, so they are now more than 7%, more than 8.5%, more than. All I have to do now is to, the balance sheet, the same balance sheet. However, as you know, this was 10, now increased by 4.30. And I used to have cash. Of course, when I issue equity, I collected cash for that, right? So I used to have cash of 10. Now the money coming from the equity is 4.30. It's 14.30, and I'm done here. I think I have to, yeah, I have to change this to 70, and I have to change this to, I will correct this. So this one was 125. 125. And if you calculate with me, I think this is 14.30, 14.30 plus 20. You just have to decrease this. I think this will be 199.3, and this is 199.3. I am done with this problem, and actually done with the workshop. Any questions? Any question, guys? About the problem, about anything else? Okay, so a lot of people say here, no, so far, no, sir. Sir, can you explain why out of the money zero? I will tell you why the out of the money is zero. Because in this case, we are dealing with credit risk. Out of the money, the translation of the out of the money means we are losing in the contract, which means the counterparty ask us to pay them. We owe them, they don't owe us, which make it not a credit risk. It make it a market risk, which we are not calculating here. In the calculation of the credit risk, we are calculating only our exposures in the credit risk. And the exposure of the credit risk means there is a possibility the other party that will not pay us. And this is why we have to take, we have to get some capital for that to buffer this credit risk. Make sense? Mavis? Any other questions? It will be always zero. Yes, it will be always zero. If it is out of the money in the credit risk, it will be always zero. In the money, always have some amount, and the on the money we have to take the whole amount. Any other question, guys, about anything? Okay, so next week, please try to come so we can, you know, explain the whole thing about the final. Hopefully it will be okay. And then just wish everyone the best. This is a long semester. And, you know, with this COVID issues and with all these issues, everybody is really tired by this time. But I wish you can do well in your exams, and we will end it up next week, and we will open for the SWAT week. If there is any questions or whatever consultations, just email me and we can Zoom or respond to your email and doing all these things. Thank you very much. If there is no questions, you can go. If there is, thank you, sir. Have a nice day. Stay safe. Yeah, Nicholas, thank you, sir. Have a nice day. You stay safe, guys. You take care.
Thank you, sir.
Yesterday is 6,200 case. Yeah, be careful. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, cases are increasing, Kelvin. Yeah. How are you, Mr. Woon?
Thank you, sir. See you.
Okay. If there is no questions, I'll just end the session. Any other question, guys? Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Sir.